Cambridge and with Sean is a Weirding Way Media podcast.
Fresh lettuce.
Well, I think it's fine building jumbo planes or taking a ride on a cosmic train. Switch on summer from a slot machine.
Hello and welcome to Cambridge and with Sean, a podcast by two weird guys where we talk about the weird things we like. My name's Ronnie, otherwise known as Skelevator on the YouTubes.
And I am Mark Bigley.
Every time we get together for these, I always feel like it's been forever. Maybe that's a good feeling to have because I get excited.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, wait, when did we record last? I'm like, oh, a month ago.
A month ago, almost exactly.
Why does it feel like 3 months?
Because it's been a long month. I don't know about you.
Yeah, January sucked ass.
Yeah, in multiple ways.
Oh, yeah, all kinds of ways.
Can we start off by saying that I think we both share a bit of sadness with the loss of Bud Court?
Yeah, that was a bummer.
It's super bummer.
Boy, I'm telling you, man, the beginnings of the last couple of years have really sucked.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better word than that.
Catherine O'Hara? I mean, come on. She's an icon. And Bud Court, I don't know about you, but I was so excited when he showed up in The Life Aquatic, like a subtle reappearance of this legend.
I don't even think I realized that was him.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't been anything that I know of.
Seeing all the people posting about him upon his death, I'm like, oh shit, he was in that, because I've only watched it a couple of times. It's one of my least favorite Wes Anderson films.
I love that one.
I know we differ in that way. I saw it in the theater. Carlita and I went and saw it, and I wouldn't have known that that was him at that point.
When I saw it in the theater, I was like, why does that guy look familiar?
It didn't click with me at all. I had no idea until recently that he was in it. But yeah, Harold and Maude is an absolute classic. I showed it to Cleo a couple of years ago, and she loved it too. And it's just a beautiful, wonderful, sad but heartwarming movie with lots of quirks.
One of my favorite portrayals of white privilege ever made. It's such an important document of that. And it's also just so touching. And I get teary-eyed every time I watch it.
Oh, yeah, it's rough, man. That ending is rough.
It's tough, yeah.
Mark always forgets that Bud Court and he share a birthday.
Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free.
Enough of the sadness. Let's move on to happier things.
Now that everybody's bummed out.
How about you? Do you want to start off this time? We got a few things to talk about.
Yeah, I picked up a few things recently, and I realized as I picked them up, or the things I got on eBay, I haven't gotten anything on eBay since the middle of October. So it'd been about almost 4 months, which is a good thing, I think. Nice to take a break. But I did get a couple things from eBay, also some McDonald's stuff, because at the end of January, they reintroduced changeables to the world.
What a cool surprise.
When you buy McDonald's Happy Meal, you can become the master changer, because you'll get a food toy that changes into an amazing robot.
We've been talking about changeables for a couple of years now, because we both picked up vintage ones. They're fun. I figured, Cleo and I will probably stop by, pick up a couple of Happy Meals or something. But she actually had a quote-unquote play date with a friend of hers back around the time it started. And they apparently went and got Happy Meals. So she came home with 2.
Nice.
And one of them was the French fry robot, I guess. And what passes for their Playland these days, the box of toys, I guess, that they have in their stores. I don't even know what it represents, but it's a blue box with some balls and stuff in it.
It's a strange thing. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it's a weird, but it's kind of cool because it's really big and it's the dinosaur. So they took both versions that they did in the past, robots and dinosaurs, and combined them all into, I think there were 16 of them.
Yeah.
So she brought those 2 home, and I thought, well, the French fry one is one I would have been gunning for course, there is a hamburger, not a cheeseburger this time, just the hamburger. And I thought, well, I kind of want that one. The nice thing about this set was that they come in, they're not blind box. You know what you're getting. The boxes have the image of the item you're getting on them because they're all varying sizes and stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I figured, well, you could probably, I hate doing stuff like that, but if I were to go, I would have said, can you try and give me the hamburger, please? I thought, man, I don't know. I'm just going to look on eBay. Of course, there's a million of them out there. People somehow get full cases of them and sell them
how do they
off.
do that?
I don't know. They know people that work there or something. I have no idea.
Hijack a shipping truck.
And I found one that with shipping would be about as much as her and I going and trying to get it at McDonald's. So I was like, I'll just do that. So I did get the little burger off of eBay. It's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't quite have the charm of the originals. They're bigger, that's for sure. This hamburger is like way bigger than the little cheeseburger guy I have from the original run. And so I had those 3 and that's fine. It's probably wrapping up. Well, actually, they tend to go for a month, so it'll be over with by the time this is out.
Right.
Speaking of Happy Meal stuff, did you get any of the Disneyland 70th anniversary ones?
So I didn't even know about this. I don't know how I missed out on this. When we went to Disneyland, we were right next to McDonald's, and I went there to get us breakfast, and I noticed the big poster, and I was like, wait a minute, that must just be like a Anaheim thing then, because I haven't seen any advertisements or any posters on McDonald's locally in Fresno. So I asked them, I said, hey, that's cool. They said, yeah, we've got those. And I didn't go back and get a Happy Meal or anything later on. It was just when you're there, Disneyland's the priority. So when I got back to town, the first week back to work after that trip, I slipped through the drive-through and asked the people there, and they were like, nope, we don't have them anymore. So I missed the boat. There were a couple of cool ones because of the 70th anniversary. There's some vintage inspiration in those little Happy Meal toys. But yeah, I missed out. I missed the boat.
Yeah, we went through, it must have been towards the end of last semester because I wouldn't have had any reason to go during winter break. To her school, and there's that one right by the school, obviously. And the nice thing was that you got 2 per Happy Meal.
Yeah, that's cool.
We got 4 that first time, and none of them really did anything for me. I think I got the little alien from Toy Story, and I don't even remember what else, honestly. And then she went with my nephew. They went one time, and the one cool one that she brought back was the castle. I thought that was kind of nice.
That's the one I wanted.
Yeah, I don't like toys on stands generally, so they don't really, they're just kind of sitting out on our coffee table. And like I said, I don't even really remember what all we got.
Yeah.
I'll look to see if there's a Jiminy Cricket, though. One of us might have gotten one.
If you see a Jiminy Cricket hanging around your house, let me know, because as our listeners will find out today, I'm currently reliving a Jiminy Cricket obsession right now.
And then the only other thing I got, and I stumbled on these, I've seen them before in my perusing on eBay and stuff, looking for ad icon figures. They didn't really hit with me at the time, but I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this little Oreo girl doll. Little vinyl figure about 4 inches tall, I think, with a Oreo cap sitting on top of her head, holding an Oreo, and then in a little red dress. I showed Cleo, and she's like, oh, that's really cute. So
that sounds amazing.
Went on eBay and just typed in Oreo girl doll, and a bunch of them popped up. And then I saw that there was also a Fig Newton girl.
What?
Never. I thought I said no eating cookies in bed.
It's not a cookie, Mother. It's a fruit Newton.
Oh, carry on then, carry on.
A cookie is just a cookie, but Newtons are fruit and cake.
And a Chips Ahoy girl.
Dang.
And I was like, oh, I have to get these.
Yeah.
I have a thing about Fig Newtons. I love Fig Newtons. I always did as a kid. We used to get the health food store version because there was a health store by that C&O market area where I would drool over the Planet of the Apes Migos.
Oh, yeah.
Right across the street, there was a health food store, and we'd always go there and get the healthy version of Fig Newtons, and I loved them, and I've always loved dried figs, Calmurna in particular. I kept a couple in my watch list, and they were selling, the whole sets of 3 for not very much, and then I found a couple boxed versions, and then I found a set of all three in boxes going for $35 or make an offer. So I made an offer. He immediately rejected it.
Aw.
I got an offer then for a loose set of three for a pretty good price, so I got them. And so here's the Fig Newton girl.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
They're adorable.
How did this not register on our radar until now? Like, that's incredible. The cookie just sitting on their head.
Yeah.
On their head.
And eating one. And I asked Carlita, which one do you want? So she took the Oreo girl, and so Cleo got Chips Ahoy, and I've got Fig Newton.
That's amazing.
This is amazing.
Those are cool. And so they look like they're made from, it's like squeaky toy plastic?
It's very much this one's actually the most solid of the three, but they are very soft vinyl.
Okay.
They have little holes in them, where the molding hole, the injection hole. So I cleaned them up all real well, and they, of course, ended up with water inside their bodies, but whatever, it'll come out.
Yeah, that evaporates eventually.
So that's all I've gotten since last we spoke.
Come on, Big Bird. It's a nice little girl. I want you to meet her.
Oh, thank heaven. She's not really 8 feet tall.
No, she's not.
That's good. I'm a very nervous bird. Boy, I nearly laid an egg right here on Sesame Street.
I've got a, New Year's resolution going on where I'm trying not to buy any plastic things. And it's so funny because I went to Food for Less the other day. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of the plaster piggy banks that are made in Mexico that are sold at Food for Less. And I'm sure they're sold elsewhere, but sometimes I see them on the side of the road being sold in our agricultural neighborhood. I had a giant hamburger one when I was a kid. Something about it I really loved. I think it's the quality of the paint applications, which is basically like spray paint, masked off spray paint on plaster.
Yeah.
The wonkiness of the sculpture and how they're often depicting IPs the makers probably don't have permission for. I love these. I always look with admiration. Rarely does one jump out at me. There'll be like a character like Elmo or Bluey or something that just doesn't really appeal to me. But it was at Food for Less the other day. Saw Big Bird in his nest holding a bag of bird seed piggy bank. It was $9.96. I got it, brought it home, told my wife, and she was like, "There's always a loophole." And I was like, yep, there sure is. I am so happy to have that. This New Year's resolution is happening right around the time where NECA is going to be releasing more of their Sesame Street figures. The next one that's coming out is their beautiful Big Bird, which will have the alternate head, which is the original Big Bird head, the kind of creepy looking one. I'm drooling over this on images online, and I'm being steadfast and resisting buying it. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be around $60 or something like that because it's a bigger one. So I'm certain it'll be expensive. Maybe 60 is extreme. Maybe it's like 50 or something. So getting this Big Bird piggy bank was a nice salve for me pining over Sesame Street plastic objects. Nice compromise. And I also, I went to the antique stores and did a little video, mostly planning to explore Disney stuff with Jules. Jules came along, and then I saw our friend who has the corner booth there in 5th Street Antiques always has something cool. It just like grabs me. He had a little cake topper Jiminy Cricket, super cheap, and I just couldn't resist. I don't have any Jiminy's in my collection. I used to have a ceramic Jiminy when I was a kid that I just absolutely loved. He traveled with me many years. I don't know at what point I lost him, but he survived even the great Ronnie toy giveaway that my mom conducted in her classroom. Somehow Jiminy survived, but yeah, I don't know where he is now. I picked that little guy up, broke my rule for that. What are New Year's resolutions if not to be broken, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't make them.
That's what I got. I did also get a Happy Meal changeable. I got the French fry guy. I'm glad that they exist. it's nice to know that McDonald's listens to our podcast, and they were like, we better do this. Otherwise, the Cambridge and with Sean guys are going to get pissed, wonder why we're not doing it. And but I want to say, too, that it's cool that they did it. They're definitely missing some of the vintage charm that the old ones have. And I think it's the quality of plastic maybe or something. They did good with them. The designs are simple. They're not super modern looking. It's just the vintage ones are just, they've got such charm. It's almost difficult to describe what that charm is.
They're a little too cutesy, too, the faces like that. French fry.
Yeah, that might be what it is.
I'm like, what's he supposed to be?
Yeah, what is that? They're well made, which is cool.
I think you can say that about most of the stuff that they produce, that they give away for quote-unquote free in a food bag.
Yeah.
They're not going to fall apart in 2 years or anything like that.
I know you and I messaged each other about this briefly, but I don't think you mentioned it yet. What's really cool is that they went with just the affordable Happy Meals.
Yeah.
These are just part of the regular Happy Meal, like those 70th anniversary Disney ones too. Like, I'm a big fan of that, McDonald's. If you can just adult Happy Meals, sure. I guess that's interesting. I'm happy we got the succulent plant
flea market,
cactus plant flea market ones, because they're super weird and super cool. Keep it to the regular Happy Meals. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, I think, though, that they're probably due for another adult one here pretty soon.
What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know. Who knows? I couldn't have guessed the last couple.
McDonald's, if you want me to break my New Year's resolution again, then, give us some more McDonaldland stuff. That'll get me to do it.
We shall see.
Just a day after recording, Ronnie and Mark discovered numerous McDonaldland themed toys that will be coming down the pipeline from NECA and Kidrobot, among others.
I'm going to show you how McDonald's builds a Big Mac sandwich.
All right. Now we're going to get into the what's the right word for this?
I don't know. I'm going to let you fish for it, though.
Now we're going to get into I guess the main show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these things that are going on. What do you got behind you there, Mark?
Well, I'm going to talk about the Officer Big Mac build first, because I wasn't finished with it last time and I had a couple of fails. And I know that I mentioned my consternation with the hat on the last episode, and that ended up being the big fail. And I'm pretty sure that after we recorded, actually, I tried to glue on the original hat I had made with the plastic cup and some air dry clay for the details, blah, blah, blah. I put Loctite around the edge where the air dry clay was, tried to attach it, and I'm like, this thing is not going to stick. There is not enough surface area on the edge of the hat to stick to the top of the head, which I had left pretty flat, knowing I was going to put a hat up there and it didn't need to be rounded off like a bun. I thought, well, shit, what the heck am I going to do? Leave it loose? That's not going to work because it'll potentially fall off and break. So I thought about it for a long time, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to put something inside of it so that I can glue it on. It needs more surface area. So I had a piece of foam that I had cut off of probably Cleo's chicken nugget buddy that she's working on, and it was about the right size. So I spent all this time, I sanded it into a perfect circle. I don't know how I managed to do that.
That's cool.
I didn't have to sand a lot. It was almost the right size, but I sanded it into a perfect circle that fit perfectly into the bottom of the hat. I was like, well, that'll be the bottom. I'll Loctite that into the cup. I cut out a couple little rounds of foam as well for the inside so I could insert a skewer as extra grip. So I did all that, inserted the foam into it, let it dry, put a skewer in the top of his head, Loctited that in, which ended up being a mistake, and then tried to attach the hat through the foam.
It sounds like it would work.
It did not. I smeared DAP on the foam under the hat, and I'm like, when that dries, that'll stick good. That's what I did with the eyes on our original burgers. So I get it positioned correctly over the skewer, first of all, to get it to go down where I needed it to go down. It still was not touching the hat in enough spaces to adhere. And while I was doing that, apparently I knocked the foam, the extra foam not the part that I Loctited into the cup, but the extra foam for the skewer came loose, I realized. And also, as I was trying to push it on, the top that I had redone cracked all the way around the edge. And I thought, well, I'll fix that with DAP later, blah, blah, blah. So I pulled it off. I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm going to have to come up with something else. And so I bought a foam cone at Michael's. And of course, it was that porous foam.
Yeah. My least favorite foam.
Yeah. And so I Mod Podged it. And I thought, well, I'll DAP this after I Mod Podge it and it dries. I can't put air dry clay on it. It'll make it too big. It was just the right diameter as it was. It was the same as the cup, and I knew it would fit on the bald spot that I left for him because I had already attached the rest of the seeds around his head. And
that's true.
Left the middle empty. And so I was working on it, and I tried to apply the DAP, and it was just not going to go on like eyeballs. And I thought, well, what else can I put on this? And I thought about that fucking plaster cloth, and I'm like, I don't want to mess with that. Still gonna have to DAP it, and just got frustrated and said, fuck it, it's just not gonna have a hat. He's not gonna have a hat. I thought about like attaching it maybe even before I changed to the foam, but I'm like, maybe I could do magnets.
I thought about magnets too. I was just thinking about magnets and Velcro.
Yeah, I thought about both of those, and we have these old magnets, these Martha Stewart magnets. I don't know why, but they're really, really strong. And I'm like, there's no way. I mean, it would rip one of the sides out if I ever try. I mean, not that I'd have to remove it, but they were too strong. I'm like, well, I could buy some magnets or I could buy some Velcro, but you kind of have to make a space for it and then get it centered right. And how do you get it centered right when the thing? And I'm forget it. So I think I messaged to you like, oh, he's going to be, retired Officer Big Mac.
Yeah, taking his hat off.
He's been promoted to Lieutenant Big Mac. That's kind of how I see it now. Or it's just him at home when he takes his hat off.
Commissioner Big Mac.
I couldn't pull the skewer out because that Loctite, I would have ripped a hole in the head if I had actually tried to take it out. So I had to cut it off, and I couldn't get it perfectly out. So there was a little stump of it hanging out, and I'm like, oh, that's just a sesame seed.
Yeah, there you go.
I ended up putting the rest of the sunflower seeds around the top of the hole that I had left, and it looks great. He just doesn't have a hat.
He looks awesome on your shelf.
The only other problems I had, well, I don't even know if they're problems, but when I had originally put all the condiments on, those pieces were all still separate. There were 4 layers, bun and patty, 2 of each of those, plus the top part, which doesn't have any condiments on it. So the one patty has the pickles on it, which were sculpted in originally when I did the patties, or before I did the patties, actually. And so the sauces and the lettuce, I did without them being all stacked up. And I realized when I put them together, like, oh, I've got too much stuff like on one side. It's like lettuce and then cheese and then something below. And I didn't really think about all that when I designed it. So that kind of bugs me a little bit, but it's not too bad. And then I was still sort of worried about using acrylic paints. I just used Cleo's cheap, super old acrylics that she's had forever.
Yeah, it's the way to do it.
It scared me thinking about the clear coat. I know you've done it before, and I know other people have done it. I just was like, if I start spraying this with clear coat and all that shit starts running off, I'm just going to flip out. That didn't happen.
Thank goodness.
Kind of did a few little wash techniques where I put some highlights in the lettuce to give it a lighter green, more of a yellowy green. I put dark green underneath where I was going to do the sauce that would imply the relish parts. And those actually worked out really well. And then I had to figure out what I was going to paint the sunflower seeds with to make them look like sesame seeds.
Right.
None of her paints would work. She had like an antique white or something, but it was a little too white. And so I bought a cheap folk art craft paint from Amazon that was called Parchment. And the little square on the website, I'm like, oh, that's it's just like a very light tan color.
Yeah.
Of course, when I got it, though, it was basically antique white. Too light. So I found another one called Camel. I could only buy it from Amazon, at least. I could only buy it with another color called pistachio. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It's $3 for 2 little bottles of paint.
There you go.
The other one that I had bought was like 60 cents. So, and it shipped for free the next day or something. But
wow.
So I spent about $4 on the 3 bottles of paint. That camel one was just a tad too dark. I mixed it with the parchment and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I got to say, the second I started dabbing that paint on the sunflower seeds, it all fell into place. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. This looks like
good.
And I actually had just seen a Burger King commercial and their buns have sesame seeds on them. I'm like, it looks exactly like that.
Yeah, that's good. Isn't that a good feeling?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that worked out really well. And that's the perfect color. It's just a little super light brown, but it offsets. I got the kind of overdid it on the light camel color for the buns on him.
Mark meant light caramel, not camel.
He's considerably darker than the original Burger Patch build we did.
Yeah.
It's that awful lighting in my garage that didn't help because it seemed like I was seeing a lot of the yellow still showing through. And so I kind of just got a little too heavy-handed. But anyway, that makes him look more like the set maker statue, which I'm fine with. The other thing, other than nailing the seeds and getting that right, the other thing I have to say is that I am a whiz at shaping top buns. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that.
You should.
The Officer Big Mac one, I don't know how I managed to do that, but I got it perfect.
Yeah.
That original Burger Patch one, I'm so happy with. And then my newest one, which I'll talk about later, I did it again, and I'm like, man, you're good, Mark.
Yeah.
Is there a way to turn this into money somehow? If you
yes, there is.
A top burger.
You just got to put yourself out there. I think people would order your burgers left and right if you started making them available and started advertising yourself.
I'd have to charge way too much. That's how I understand why Dallas Pogue stuff is so expensive, because I'm not doing anything nearly as technical as him. It's like, forget the materials, man. The work that goes into this, like, you got to pay me for all that work.
You do. I mean, but that's also, that's what people are paying for when they pay for his sculptures. And when I take in the commission, the people that purchase these types of items know that the hand is there. If it's hand painted, hand sculpted, whatever it might be, they know that they're purchasing artwork essentially, because you're going to be able to see how this was made by holding it in your hand. I mean, one of the things I treasure about my Dallas Pogue Mayor McCheese Fisher Price style little guy is that even though it looks like it could have been factory made, I can still tell that it was carefully crafted by hand. It's an artwork that I will treasure, and it was worth every penny. In fact, I think he probably could have charged more for those. Goodness knows that every single time I get a commission, I know I could have charged more, and that's just the way it is. And I'm sure that's situations he's had to face too. It's part of it, Mark. And if you ever decide to make burgers for people, I know you and I both know that there's an audience for this. I'm sure people would want a Mark Begley style hand sculpted hamburger. I know I would.
Well, put in your order. I have enough foam for another one.
There you go. I just might. It's really cool that you and Cleo are working on a McNugget too, which is cool.
It's almost done. She's got to put on her second layer of paints on the facial features, and then I got to clear coat it, and that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
May do another smaller one in the future, because that was pretty fun.
Yeah, you got to do one that has like a costume you can put on it.
I bought a piece of felt, a piece of black felt at Michael's when I bought that foam cone, because I considered doing his band in felt instead of air dry clay. I cut a strip of it off and go, well, I'm not going to do the hat now, so you could give your nugget buddy a cape or something. I don't know. I've got a 8 by 10 inch piece of black felt here.
Well, there you go.
Go to waste, I guess. It cost all of 60 cents.
That nugget is going to be in your family for a long time. You could like make little costumes for each season. How much fun would that be?
Oh, the other thing I bought at Michael's, which has been really helpful, is a $6 set of 25 paintbrushes.
I love that. In fact, I just bought a $5 set of cheap brushes from, what's that other? Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. I don't go to Hobby Lobbies.
Yeah, I try to refrain from going there myself, but sometimes that's the only option for last-minute items. I treasure cheap paintbrushes. I have ever since I started making art on a regular basis. I am an advocate for the cheap brushes.
I've used between her and I, we probably used 10 different ones.
Yeah.
Just depends on what you need.
That's so true.
Sweetheart, the Matterhorn!
I guess I'll give a little update on the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
It made it to Texas. It's currently residing on a giant miniature Disneyland platform in Eric's house, the guy who commissioned it. He called me. He was super excited. The only thing that happened when it shipped, and I packed this thing up so carefully, some of the little guys fell off, but he was able to glue them back on. It survived for about 5 days. I was nervous as hell that it would, but it made it there, and he installed it on the platform, and it looks so cool. It was such a tough experience, but I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot. Like you with your recent builds, you visualize it a certain way, and then certain things pop up and certain challenges arrive, and you reconfigure your plan. Often it becomes the more unique item because of the revisions that you make along the way, and I couldn't be happier with the way it turned out, and I'm glad that he's happy with it. For those of you that want to see what it looks like as part of his build, I assigned him the duty of filming a little bit of his build, and he's going to send me that footage. I'm going to post it over on a new channel that I started. I started a new channel based on my more recent interest in going to places, documenting walkthroughs of immersive experiences. Really, it's inspired by us talking about local locales, our recent trips to Disneyland, which I don't know if I mentioned it before. I'm pretty sure I have, but my wife and I, as partial empty nesters, decided to do annual passes to Disneyland. So we've got a couple of trips coming up for this year over the next few months. This new channel is going to be visiting places, but it'll also include some Disney-centric stuff, and this fits that category. That video, as soon as Eric gets me that footage, I'll be able to post that over there. For those of you that are interested in subscribing to that channel, go to your YouTube and type in @YTF with SV, and that stands for Yesterday, Tomorrow, and Fantasy with your host, Skelevator.
For now, we enter the land of yesterday and tomorrow, and of course, the land of fantasy.
So it's a branch of the Skelevator thing, but it'll be walkthroughs. And they're already over there. Got a couple Disneyland trip videos that I transferred from my other channel. And then also Jules and I went to Storyland on a really foggy day. That was a really cool trip. So that's over there as well. For geeks like me, if you're familiar with Huell Hauser, California's Gold, it's really inspired by that because I just love the enthusiasm that he had when he would go to these weird oddball places. And
what's the line?
What?
What's the line?
What is the line?
That's amazing. Come on, man.
That's right. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
And as a kid, I used to love when Mr. Rogers would go to a place and talk to people. And it's kind of based on that, too. I just feel like my other channel. Oh, I guess this is a good time to mention this. I was starting to kind of see a big problem with my main YouTube channel that anytime I talked about Masters of the Universe, this is not a problem. It's kind of a to be expected, I guess. Anytime I talk about Masters of the Universe or Sesame Street, I get a ton of views on my channel. Anytime I talked about Disney or my interests in things, oddball things, hardly any views. Antique store walkthroughs, hardly any views. And then I tried to test this out, and the new channel is still a seedling, a little tiny thing. But when I posted this new build, which I'll talk about in a moment, for Masters of the Universe in preparation for Motooniverse, which is coming up in May. I got this commission. I posted the first video. It blew up. I posted the second video. It blew up even more. Obviously, that channel, the main Skelevator channel, I think people are interested in Masters of the Universe primarily, occasionally Sesame Street stuff, occasionally Star Wars stuff. Masters is where it's at for that. And I think people really enjoy watching the build videos when it comes to Snake Mountains and Castle Grayskulls. So I finally figured it out, Mark. YouTube is a hard thing to figure out. I think I'm getting there.
Already?
Yeah, so the Matterhorn made it. The Matterhorn survived the trip to Texas, and I'm excited to share that with you all.
Yeah, and you got the rails figured out, and you did your epoxy waterfalls.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
My mom actually messaged me not too long after she saw it and when I posted images of it, and she was like, "Can we live there?" And I thought that was one of the nicest compliments a person can give another person for making something. Can we live there?
Yeah.
If we could build giant hamburger houses, if we could build giant Matterhorns to live in, I think that we would. So, folks, those of you who are millionaires, billionaires, reach out to us. We'll gladly get contractors involved and build you hamburger and Matterhorn houses.
Yeah, I can do the top bun for you, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mark is a bun expert.
I'm a bun master.
Bun Master Mark.
My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Mark B. B stands for Bun Master.
Yeah.
I see you have another little project going.
Yeah, I mentioned the Mr. Grape idea.
Yeah.
After the Officer Big Mac, I'm like, I think that's a little too much. And I had also mentioned on the last episode possibly doing a mini burger. So that's what I decided to do. I wanted to do it kind of like the Officer Big Mac, where I ordered the foam rounds. That's just a little easier for me to manage. I had a feeling it probably wasn't a great idea just because doing it at a smaller size with the same thickness, all you can really get are 1-inch foam rounds. You can't, or at least I haven't found 1/2 inch. Maybe they're out there. And cutting 1.5 perfectly is like not going to happen unless you have some kind of jig or something to put it on.
Yeah.
I thought, well, it'll just be small but kind of tall. So that was what I figured. And I went through the whole thing of trying to find a decently priced pack of them on Amazon and getting all different crap that I didn't want to see. So I was looking for 4-inch rounds, and I don't know if you can get any smaller than that or not. So I got a pack of 6 4-inch by 1-inch rounds for $6 on Amazon.
Nice.
I mean, I'm not going to find it cheaper anywhere else. So
no.
I bought that, and I figured that I would use 4 of them. 2 would be the top bun, and then the patty, and then the bottom bun. So that's sort of what I started out with in my head and worked on that. And so I glued the top 2 together. Then I Mod Podged everything. This is the smooth foam, so I knew I wasn't going to have any issues with attaching DAP or anything like that. But I Mod Podged stuff just to be extra safe. I sanded. I don't trust myself with knives. I used blades on the Officer Big Mac head and got that pretty good, but it was hard to get the shape right. So I thought, well, I'm just going to sand this.
You got to trowel it.
So I glued the top 2 together, and then I started sanding the very top to where I could get that rounded bun. It took forever because this was the more compact foam, but I kept with it and I got the roundness right. And then I would just keep stacking the pieces together. And I'm like, this is just too tall. It's too tall by how wide it is. I went ahead and dapped the top bun and the bottom bun. And I knew that I didn't need to dap the patty because I was going to use the rest of the very last of my air dry clay to make that. And so at one point I put what I had already dapped together, just laid them on top of each other. And I was like, oh, that's the perfect size.
It looks like a burger, like you're holding it's almost like you're a smaller person holding what would be a regular size burger for that smaller person.
I thought, oh, that's the perfect height. And I was sanding the top of this. Maybe I can get this down to 1.5 inches instead of 2, which I got pretty close to, actually. And then I was like, okay, stop, and adapted and everything. I'm like, oh no, that's perfect. I had already made the contour for the bottom bun, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put the patty on the foam, kind of in between the two, and now it's perfect. So that's what I ended up doing. And so, like I said, now I have 3 more pieces of foam. I could make another one of these basically the same way, but probably even a little better because I would carve it out correctly this time for better placement of the patty. But anyway,
you could do a mini Mayor McCheese.
Yeah, it was actually one of the things that I had thought about. The inspiration for this was less McDonald's and more wimpy burgers.
Yes,
I wanted the patty to stick out a good ways from the bun.
I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
I made little rounds of air dry clay, got it wrapped around there pretty well, and then I stippled it with the foam that I had purchased for the Officer Big Mac hat.
Oh, there you go.
So I got texture that way. I think I probably should have stuck with the aluminum foil trick.
Yeah.
Because as I have painted it, I have lost almost all of the texture on the patty.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with that yellow paint, that yellow gloss paint that I have. It almost erased all of it.
I've done this before when I realized my texture is not prominent enough. I've gone in and used dental tools or nails and chipped away at it to get it, and then filled in larger chunks that have chipped away on accident a little bit and then chipped away a little bit more. It just takes time, but it's a matter of just like mending an issue you've noticed along the way. But that's something to do or consider doing.
I might do that. I might try something, or I might even just sand it a little bit with not the fine grit, but a heavier grit sandpaper, kind of mess it up a little.
Mess it up.
But we'll see. And then I decided I wanted pickles, of course, as always, and cheese. And so I got the cheese. It was a little more difficult than the Officer Big Mac because I had to put it around the patty that's sticking out, so it's not laying flat. I don't know if you can tell, but it's sort of sticking out.
You were right about it looking like a wimpy burger because it's sort of like what's great about those wimpy burgers is the shapes are exaggerated, and so it looks like that. I mean, gosh, you basically built a hamburger that'll be perfect for you dressing up as Wimpy in October for Halloween.
Although his didn't ever have cheese on them, but that's okay.
No.
And then, of course, I had to do some sauce dribbles, so I did one of ketchup and one of mustard for the front and a big drip of ketchup on the back.
That looks great, by the way.
And the red's a little bloody looking, so more like blood drips right now. I probably could have lightened it with a little bit of white paint, but that's all right. I'm done with those. And the pickles, I had tried to put some indentations on the tops of them for the seeds.
That looks good.
Of course, they basically got covered up by the patty, but I did end up getting those lighter and then with the darker edge and darker seeds, which I had wanted to do previously and never did on my previous pickles. Oh, and I was able to do the saran wrap trick, and I kept all of the light brown off of the cheese so I don't have to paint the cheese.
Yeah.
I considered doing a custom mix because Cleo does have an orange in her old paint supply. Thought about making it more like actual American cheese that has an oranger tint to it. But I was like, you know what? I actually got this so that the yellow is still there. I masked it off and didn't let the brown get on it. And I thought, I'll just save myself the trouble of having to paint those.
It looks great.
Just have to paint the patty. Going to be a little bit harder with that curve, but I'm trying to be real less anal about this one if I get brown on spots. And I did manage to get this lighter than the Officer Big Mac, more like the original burger, so that the brown isn't as dark and you see a lot more of the yellow underneath. So that ended up working out well.
Yeah, that looks really good. And what you said about the ketchup, I think if you went lighter with the ketchup, though, at least based on what I'm seeing here, if you went lighter with the ketchup, I don't think it would look as much like ketchup. I think that looks good. Ketchup is supposed to look a little bit bloody. It's not supposed to be a light red.
I'm not that worried about it. I figured, I walk in and I see it and I'm like, oh, that looks like a blood drop.
With you like horror movies.
Yeah, with the clear coat, it might. I don't know if it'll tone it down or brighten it up at all, but we'll see. I'm going simple, trying to get it done quick. And then I told Cleo, I said, I've got three more. If you want to do a burger, we'll do a burger. Or Mayor McCheese. We'll see. It would be perfect for Mayor McCheese.
There you go. He's a simpler sculpt, that's for sure. I mean, you took on Officer Big Mac. That's the most complicated sculptural burger character ever.
He does have a top hat, though, so...
Hey, now that you've had experience with Officer Big Mac's hat and all of those ups and downs, mostly downs, now you know maybe an approach that'll work for you better for a different hat, for a different sculpt.
Yeah, I think it would have to be all cardboard, basically.
Yeah.
Fortified with something.
There's this stuff, it's called air dry clay, but it's for kids. And it's more like foam. It's not messy. It almost has a plasticky feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw packs of that when I was ordering stuff, and I was like,
I made a grimace. You saw that I made a grimace using that stuff. And when I was at work during one of our employee team building exercises and stuff like that, I made a grimace that day with that air dry clay. But that stuff, one of our student assistants in our office made a little top hat and gave me the top hat to put on Grimace. And it was done with that clay. And if they can do it, you can do it. And that stuff is light and it dries hard. It feels plasticky and it's easily glued onto anything. So that's something to look into. And it's cheap.
Yeah, I saw buckets of that on Amazon when I was trying to get the other air dry clay.
It's kind of an amazing material, and I've been thinking about finding ways to mess around with that a little bit.
It's a good idea, actually.
Also, epoxy sculpt could be fun for you to try, too. It's just pricier.
Cheap is always good for me.
Cheap is the best. I love cheap.
Me too.
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!"
All right, we'll talk about your gigantic build.
This gentleman out in Illinois.
Won't you welcome from Calumet City, Illinois, the show band of Joey and Jake and Elwood Blues, the Blues Brothers.
Has a wildlife adventure park called Aikman Wildlife Adventure Park. It's in Arcana, Illinois. Is it Arcana or Arcana I don't know. But it's out there in Illinois. He contacted me because he saw my previous Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain builds on my YouTube channel. So what they've decided to do over there is, they have a prehistoric museum that coincides with their wildlife adventure park. And of course, the animals in Illinois don't want to be outside in the wintertime. So they have this prehistoric museum that coincides with their wildlife adventure park during the colder months, an indoor sort of walkthrough with giant dinosaurs that have been built to resemble how we perceive dinosaurs and stuff like that. Kind of a cool place. He's a toy collector, and so he created a toy museum to coincide with the prehistoric museum. With the Masters of the Universe movie coming out in June, I think a lot of people are realizing that there's more interest in this than maybe previously anticipated. So he was like, hey, I want one of your Snake Mountains and one of your Grayskulls for our toy museum. Then he sent me the measurements, and I hadn't agreed to do it. I was telling him I got to keep my regular job. This is not something I'm doing professionally as of yet, and I don't have enough vacation time to drive these out to Illinois. And he agreed to have movers come and pick them up, and I'll get to that in a little bit. We talked about the measurements. We agreed upon a commission price. Since he's paying for the shipping, it would be a more reasonable price than paying for me to drive them out there. Here are the measurements, just so people have an understanding of how big these are. There are two of them. So there's one Castle Grayskull and one Snake Mountain. They both have the same basic measurements, which is 7 feet by 11 inches. So almost 8 feet long, the platforms for each of them. And then nearly 5 feet wide, 4 feet by 11 inches. I've taken an inch off of their original required measurements just so that they'll fit into the cases, and there's a little room. They built these plexiglass cases for them. And then about 5.5 feet tall. These are huge. I had to chat with my wife. Hey, at a certain point, I'm going to need to be working on these in the garage because they're not going to fit over our fence or through our gates. Like, I can't work on them in the backyard at a certain point. Right. She was like, fine. Show me the money, essentially.
Right.
And I did. And she was like, okay. It's a bit of a crunch time on this because they need to be done by near the end of May, because they will be showing up at a convention in Redondo Beach at the Marriott Torrance for the Motuniverse convention, which is happening May 23rd and 24th. So what is that, Memorial Day weekend? There's going to be a lot of hype about the Masters of the Universe movie coming out. There's going to be, this convention's already gotten a lot of positive responses. I think there's going to be a lot of people there, and some really cool Masters of the Universe artists will be there too. Rebecca Taylor, who worked on the design team, whose husband is Mark Taylor, who was like the primary designer for Masters of the Universe stuff back in the day. And Rudy Obrero, who's like a hero of mine, who did all the box art for the original Masters of the Universe line, or most of the box art. He's responsible for those amazing paintings of Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull. I'll be renting a U-Haul to get them down to Redondo Beach, and then the movers will take them on Sunday afternoon and start driving over to Illinois. I was a little terrified. I've lost a lot of sleep brainstorming ways to do this that will make these builds more impressive than previous builds, not just in size, but also in detail, and thinking about alternate ways to sculpt the stone facades for Grayskull, because that's a very time-consuming process. I made almost every brick or stone on the facade out of air dry clay, so I'm going to be experimenting with some alternate materials. I found this amazing stuff. It's like a paper mache, but it's a plaster. It's a lightweight but hard sculpting material. So I'm going to experiment a little bit with that and see how that works out. It's going to be an adventure. It won't be as challenging as the Matterhorn, because that I had to like reinvent the wheel as far as sculpting in the Z scale. For me, I'm just not used to sculpting that small. These are going to be bigger than what I'm used to doing, and so I feel like that's more in my comfort zone. But yeah, they're enormous pieces.
Are there templates? Because I know that when you see concrete that's been poured to make it look like stone or brick, they basically lay down templates on top of it to make the lines and stuff. Are those available to buy?
Yeah, you can buy large silicone or plastic molds for stone. They're just a little pricey. One of the main issues that I have with that, you saw I got that little silicone mold for stone wall. I was doing a little revising of my original Grayskull, and I wanted to put some stonework on the inside. One of my big disappointments with that is that the molds are always a certain size, and so I guess the closest analogy is in those old cartoons when you see the same background repeat.
Right.
I'm a little bit uncomfortable with having that be a visual element that people looking at it can spot.
I guess the solution to that would be like changing the direction of the template.
Yeah, that's very true. And so I've experimented with that a little bit. I like that idea, but I've also been looking into the first Castle Grayskull build, I didn't do enough research on the sculpting of the foam as opposed to using the foam just for a skeletal foundation. Yeah. Done a little bit more research recently on sculpting the foam to make the brick facades.
Right.
I'm kind of excited about that. That goes back to the original idea that I've really spent a lot of time researching for the Snake Mountain builds, because this is my first Grayskull commission. People have really wanted Snake Mountain, so this will be my 5th Snake Mountain commission. So I've had a lot of experience doing that using set making techniques, but now I'm going to be using some of these set making techniques as far as how these stone walls are carved from foam and then painted and given the hard shell after. My wife and I just recently started rewatching Game of Thrones. I'm watching these interior shots and doing research on the side too of how these stone walls are constructed, and I just love that. I love when something looks solid when it's not. I'm going to be messing around with a little bit of that and experimenting with stuff. And so this series of videos I'm going to do, it's going to be about one, in a best case scenario, it'll be 2 videos a week, but in more realistically, it'll be about 1 video a week on the main Skelevator channel where I do updates of these builds. I'm editing the 3rd one today and should launch tonight, which is Friday the 13th of February. So
now you have the hot wire cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't they make other hot utensils, more like a knife or
yes,
that might help too, maybe?
I have different attachments for my hot wire cutter. The one I use the most is what we've seen on the videos, which is that long, thin wire which warms up and cuts through the foam real easily. There are peg attachments. It can be like a pen where you draw in, and then also one where you can insert deep into the foam.
Right. Make holes
and then
or whatever.
Cut from there. The pen option is going to be good for starting some of those initial shapes of the stone,
right,
and then using an X-Acto knife to make the shapes irregular. And of course, the wonderful gift of the age-old and tried and true technique of the crumpled aluminum foil ball that you can use to make the texture works really well on that insulation foam as well as air dry clay. And then I'll be experimenting with this paper mache material that is like dries hard, but it's lightweight. There are these skeletal structures on the Filmation version of Castle Grayskull that I'm going to be experimenting with on this build. So that'll help too with that.
I want to say that I would suggest DAP, but not for something that size.
Right. Yeah.
I think the spray texture.
Oh, yeah.
For walls.
Yeah.
Might work for something.
For sure. The interior of certain spaces that are going to be harder for me to get to, because this will have several different rooms and compartments within each of these builds. That texture spray, that plaster texture spray is awesome.
Yeah.
And you can get it in different, it can be more clumpy, less clumpy,
right.
Which is cool. And I'm certainly going to be using some of that for, there's this area underneath Castle Grayskull called the Crystal Caverns. I'll do a little bit of that there.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I just built the skeletal frames for underneath these platforms. They're going to be transportable and durable, using wood, using hard elements like hard cardboard. The tubes that people usually use to pour concrete fence posts and other things, I'm using those for Grayskull 2, and it's been a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When I saw the size of the tubes, I was like, oh, that's going to be big.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. You're going to see the video that's going to launch tonight. I placed the tubes on the platform with pieces of the walls. Seeing that on top of the foundational structure really puts everything in perspective as far as how big these are.
Knowing where they're going to and the size of them, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it makes me nervous that they'll be driven by people who are probably more used to moving furniture and stuff. I think that's part of the risk, but also for every commission I've done, I've always provided a few additional supplies, a can of spray paint, some mending glue and things like that. And so they can fix any small errors, or not errors, but things that might chip off along the way and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, if you need anything top bun shaped, on these, give me a call and I'll help you out.
The Grayskull skull has that giant bun on the top of his head, so maybe I'll get you to do that for me.
I'll sand it down to perfection.
I'll get the Bun Master on that.
Yeah.
That's the name of this episode, right? Bun Master?
Yeah, and I'm going to clip that. Oh, shoot, what's his name? I use it in the last episode. No, yeah, well, that'll be in here too.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of his name? Never mind. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Buns, hun.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, yes, definitely. So that's exciting. People are tuning into this. I think they're excited about it, which is cool to see. It's nice to see when the stuff I put on the channel is providing some joy for other geeks like us. I like seeing that. That's the whole reason why I did it in the first place. So it's nice that people are responding positively to this endeavor. Every time I take on something like this, whether it be small like the Matterhorn or one-off commissions, I always feel like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, sitting at the table with the mashed potatoes, because my daughters and my wife, they're always like, oh, here he goes again. Should we be worried about this guy? It's exciting. This is an exciting one, and it's going to be cool. When it's done, I'll have to have you over to look at them up close.
Or seriously, if you do need help, let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Because they're rather large, so if you need an extra set of hands...
I might have to get you and Jules over here to help me put them in the U-Haul.
Oh, yeah, true.
Maybe we'll have a sculpting day where I can put you and Jules to work putting some things together.
Sounds cool.
You royal boob.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about this today as far as a local locale, but I am wearing my Sunnyside Drive-In shirt.
Ooh, nice. I love that. Are they still doing the flea market out there?
I think it's been raised. I don't think there's anything out there anymore. They could be. I shouldn't speak out of turn, but I want to say that it's been completely closed up.
I'm going to look into that. I'm really going to piggyback off of local locales that we brought up in here and try and get out to some of these places we've talked about.
Right.
I know not all of them exist anymore. I'm planning to go out to Minkler. We talked about Minkler in the last episode. I'm planning to go out there and do a little, that's amazing, Huell Hauser experience out there in Minkler.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Sunnyside Flea Market. This is really sad to say, but I never made it out there for the flea market.
I thought about it multiple times when I saw some things that people were getting at flea markets, and I'm like, man, I really need to go out there.
Yep.
I just realized that every single item of clothing I'm wearing today has been a Christmas gift. Not this year, but over the last 3 years, every single piece of clothing I'm wearing right now, my wife has gotten me for Christmas.
That's nice. I'm wearing a Christmas gift too, this jacket.
Because I don't buy clothes for myself anymore, hardly at all. I have shirts that are 20 years old. I have t-shirts that are 20 years old. So
yeah, I'm more likely to pick up a unique item than to buy myself clothes too. So I'm right there with you.
Me too.
Well, I know you and I already have ideas of what we might talk about next.
Well, you'll definitely talk about Jiminy Cricket since you teased that earlier and sacked it, which is fine.
Yeah, we ran out of time today. So, folks, you're going to hear me talk about Jiminy. I got a lot to say about that little guy.
Did you know you are an animal? You're a human animal.
And all will be revealed in the next episode. In fact, who knows? Because my wife and I are going to Disney on the 20th of this month. So to sort of celebrate our anniversary and sort of a delayed Valentine's trip for us. And there's something that I'm tempted to try and pick up when I'm there.
But look for one of those vinyl figures of him too.
Yeah. I mean, so Jiminy Cricket merch has always been difficult to find.
He's too small.
I guess he's a little niche. That kind of blows my mind because he was one of Walt Disney's favorites. It's strange that there's not a lot of Jiminy Cricket merch out there, but who knows what I might come back with. We'll see.
I think he was big for us, people our age. I know for me, I want to say he introduced all the episodes of The Wonderful World of Disney.
He showed up in quite a few of those, along with Walt. He showed up in a few of those collected shorts that were turned into feature films. He was a beloved character for quite a while. And then I think people just sort of lost interest. Maybe it's the top hat. I don't know.
He seemed to be the spokesman for a lot of that stuff in the 70s and early 80s.
I mean,
interesting.
When You Wish Upon a Star is like the Disney theme song.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and we'll talk about this more next time, but I'm glad that he's being recognized a little bit more right now. And it could just be because of the 70th anniversary and stuff like that.
Yeah. True.
So, I guess that's it.
Yeah, take us out, man.
All right. Remember, until we meet again, folks, have fun, stay weird, and keep collecting in whatever way you see fit.
And call me if you need a burger made.
That's right. We got the Bun Master here.
Absolutely.
He's ready for
me. I don't answer my phone, so don't do that.
Yeah, don't call him. Maybe send a message. Or
don't even do that.
Don't even do that. He won't answer that either.
I'll just have to read your mind or something.
That's right. Send a telepathic message. Actually, you know what? The zeitgeist works for us. Yeah. So somehow Mark will get the message.
Yes, let's leave it at that.
Yep.
Buns, hon.
Josh, I'm going to have to tell him. About my weirdness? I'm sorry, Josh.
Cambridge and with Sean is a Weirding Way Media podcast.